hard time understanding that. But then you get out on the west side, and it's a lot less garbled, like the California accent or whatever is kind of the non-accent considered over here.
Yeah, it could be that people do tend to see that as a generic American accent, don't they?
Yeah.
But probably because it's just the one that turns up in films a lot. But
well, it is actually pretty bland. I mean, if you look at it structurally, it's not real exciting.
Yeah, they ask a lot. They ask a lot of questions a lot. And what's the other thing they do? I'm gonna go on the freeway, and I'm gonna go and do some. I'm gonna check out some art galleries. Just hang out, man.
Yeah. And it's interesting. Even within this, I live in New Mexico, and it's interesting because I live on the plains, and we have kind of a harsh. It's not a drawl because it's not particularly slow, but it's kind of a harsh Southern accent kind of sounding thing. And then you go up north into the mountains, and it's kind of a different accent. And then you go over into Texas, and it's similar to where I live, but it's very different. And then there's 2 or 3 really distinct kind of accent areas, I think, in Texas. And it really does depend on the topography. Like you've got up on the plains, and then you've got down in the hill country, and then like down on the coast.
A lot of that stuff must get hardwired from by about the age of 5.
I don't know, but I mean, people change their accents when they go live somewhere else.
Yeah, but from the people that I've met, it's like, although I'm, my grandmother, for instance, is from Northern Ireland, and the day she died, 90 odd, it was no less thick than the fucking day she moved over to the UK.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's interesting. I would almost wonder. I would almost suggest that probably varies a lot depending on like. You could probably relate it to type. Because like if I start talking to somebody for very long, I start talking like that.
Do you?
I do. And I don't mean to do it. And it drives my mom nuts. Yeah. Like so she's an INTJ, ISTJ, and she's like, me and my dad both do it, and she's like, why are you talking like that? And then if we start talking like a Yankee or something, like an Easterner, she'll get really irritated at it. She's like, stop talking like that. Because it takes a while to wear off. And another thing that people in here have pointed out is that I've introduced my sister to some people, and they've noted that she has a much stronger accent than I appear to on here. And I can talk like her, but I don't all the time. I have kind of a more neutral accent most of the time. But that seems to be a thing that ENTPs do, is we have that mimic circuit or whatever. It's kind of annoying though. But it's cool. Talked to this couple from Wisconsin one time, and I literally don't remember. I'm pretty sure I didn't know what they were saying for a couple of minutes, but then I started talking like them, and suddenly I could understand them better. It's like I got my head on that frequency, and you're like, okay. What were you gonna say?
Do it. If I hang out with people for a while, take on their mannerisms and things pretty quick. But I think everybody does that. It's just a human thing that. Well, I'm making a generalization there, but it's unqualified. But you do see things like I don't know whether they'd be classed as memes or just body language. It's kind of viral.
Yeah, to certain degrees. I mean, but it does depend, I think. So I see it way more in some people, and I see it way more in some people as like reactionary. And you'll see where it's kind of originating from. Like, it's not equal. this doesn't. Yeah, some people absorb it more. Some people, I think, kind of
distribute it.
distribute it more, and then I think some people are. I think there's varying degrees of kind of ability or inclination to control it.
I guess when I first became aware of the of that sort of thing, I felt like it was a defect, because it was like you were showing weakness because you were easily influenced or something like that, like in a negative light. But I don't think it is now.
Yeah, I mean, it's useful. I mean, INFJ, be what, FE second slot, so yeah, it's an interesting place to have it. Probably can't really not do it, but not as interested in like pumping it out either, I would guess.
Yeah.
More inclined to receive than, send, but high enough in your stack that it's probably hard to shut off. Or virtually impossible. I can't turn my TI off it.
I was in a meeting yesterday, and I observed this before, but I'm just sat there trying to, because other people's. I sometimes have social anxiety. I don't know how to be. I know how to be. I just want to. I'm all right sitting there, but people moving around, and then I'm like, and I want to move around, but I don't want to be influenced by what other people are doing. Mirroring, and because when you do things like that, automatically, then some people become almost defensive. Weird.
Yeah, I like my FE third. Like, it's not quite. I don't think it's probably quite as compulsive. Like, I can kind of shut it off and not really pay any attention to it at all. But I think it's fine. Not everybody else thinks that's fine.
Yeah, I try to do that when I can. Ignoring it's all right, and doing it's all right, and I don't need to manage these things.
Yeah, I just feel like it's more of a, like, I like to kind of be in the energy of it, but I'm not really controlled by the energy. And I don't really like to, I can use it kind of as a tool too, but I don't really like to do it either. But I do it when it's the right things to do. So when it's like, I usually don't even notice when I'm doing it. Like, it's like, oh, that's what I needed. And it was like doing like the FE kind of putting on the charm. And it's like, I'm not that charming, but you're like, actually, I can be when I want something.
I think that when you're constantly warm and you're mirroring people and you're usually in tune with other people's energies, when something's wrong and you get cold suddenly and don't participate in the flow of things, you don't necessarily have to voice it anymore. People just pick up on like, oh, I just said a bad thing. So it kind of saves a lot of effort, I guess.
I'm just usually cold. When people think something's wrong, I'm like, no, this is my natural state.
Yeah, I think it's important to manage things like that in subtle ways, because like this chap came up to the group the other day and handing out business cards with his number on, and that's because he wanted to help people, he wanted to try and support people, but he then ended up going into too much of a too assertive, too domineering about what's what. Too shutting people down rather than allowing them to engage in their own way, judging. It's like he even said something like, Oh yeah, I'm into Satanism, and I was like, oh right, yeah. So it's not all about. It's not technically about like some parts of it aren't about just worshiping, a goat god. It's about more. Some of it's like a rejection of mainstream religion, and isn't it? And he goes, "Oh, that's too deep for me." Like, what the fuck? I thought you just said you were into Satanism. You won't even do that one line with me.
A lot of people wear that Satanism bullshit as like an identity like badge thing, and they're not
Yeah,
actually into it. Similar to how a lot of Christians do that.
yeah. It's not like what goes on in here, is it?
What, the faking religion?
The typing.
The what?
With the typing, the MBTI typing thing. That's a lot like that, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
But there's more ground to it because it's not like people who are into identity politics. They're not they want it as a badge, like you say, more than as a means, as a vehicle to understand themselves and other people.
Yeah. When people, you can tell who is and isn't uh, wearing it as a badge by like how they react to you trying to retype them and being like, "Oh, well, I don't see this function," and then they get defensive, and you're like, "You don't actually care
Nah.
about anyone's opinion. You just want to think what you already think about yourself. Like you're not really interested in discovering anything new." I think
Yeah,
it's
it's
kind of
interesting
wild.
the different strategies. I'm here to figure out how people's brains work. That's why I like it.
Right. So there's something more to it than just I'm a this, I'm a that. I'm a trans frog.
Yeah, but the first step to understanding brains is to kind of get an idea of your own, because that's the one you have most access to. And then you start experimenting on other people. And like physically experimenting on people's brains is frowned upon. So
Yeah, just
Nope.
frowned upon.
I mean, but the way you go about experimenting with people can teach you some things about yourself, after all. So, I don't know.
it's
Maybe you're
it
learning about
bounces
yourself in the
back.
process.
Hmm.
I'm always, hopefully, I would hate to become uninteresting to myself. That would be pretty bad.
It's bad. Take my word for it.
I like the way you said that. It's bad. So bad.
It's a very festive cat you got there, Casual.
It's interesting in here to see, there is definite. I mean, just there does seem to be clustering with the types. I mean, you see weird similarities to people that closer to using the same functions. Then you're like, that's freaky. Like, don't say that. That's what I was thinking.
It's really boring conversing with people of the same type as you because you guys have kind of already come to the same conclusions. So it's like, I don't know, you're kind of just discussing like opinions you already share. There's no like contrast or like tension at all, no disagreement, no new point of view. I mean, there's some variance, but like not much.
Yeah, it's different. It's interesting. Like, but it's not. Yeah, it's a different sort. It's kind of relaxing. And I don't know. Just it feels like talking to other ENTPs. Like you don't have to worry. There's certain things you realize that you don't have to worrying about, and so you're like, even if you don't, whether you pay attention to them normally or not, like you can just kind of like chill out and kind of less translation between your brain and what you say is required.
Yeah, but I feel like in the process of translation, you end up saying and coming to like more new and novel conclusions. So I kind of enjoy that process, which is probably why I like prefer talking to other types.